Hey, what's up guys? Kostas Coolest at Properties. Today's video and topic is about mortgage interest rates. If you haven't heard, they're at an all-time low. So what does this mean? If you're a first-time buyer, regular buyer, a real estate investor, or you're just looking to stay in your own place, there's many options to take advantage of. So who better to talk to than a friend of mine with Guaranteed Rate? Rochelle, what's up? How are you?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I see you're outside, I'm outside, I'm out in a field somewhere. I have no idea where I'm at. Let's just jump right into it, okay? Let's just talk about interest rates in perspective to where they are today versus 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Give us an idea so we can lay the foundation and groundwork for today's conversation.
So interest rates overall, I can't stress enough, and just to put it simply, they're the lowest they've ever been. So if you're looking at 3 years ago, 3 to 5 years ago, interest rates were about 4.5%, even close to 5 in some circumstances. 10 years ago, they were well over 5, into the 6s. 15, 20 years ago, they're well over 8%. So you're looking at just a massive decline in the cost of a home overall, and now couldn't be a better time to buy. And it sounds like an ad, but honestly, I mean, to have the cost of a home be, in terms of a mortgage, 25% cheaper right now than even a few years ago, that's outstanding. It's awesome. And I love seeing families get bigger spaces for themselves.
Yeah, especially right now since COVID, people are working out of the house. It's a good opportunity to get into a bigger place. So you mentioned that rates right now are 25% cheaper than they were 3 to 5 years ago. So what does this mean, or how is it reflected on a monthly payment?
Okay, so a great example would be if you're a family that are looking at a home that's $325,000 now. 3 years ago, that would have cost you on average $300 more than if you were to buy that house now. So take that into consideration, and maybe now you can afford a house that's bigger that can fit your family's size as it is now compared to a few years ago.
So for those people that want to stay in their own place, let's talk about refinancing. The biggest misconception, or a lot of people are always saying to me, hey, what's the point? My rate is already low enough, so I don't need to refinance my home. So how do we know when the right time is to refinance?
So that's a really good question. So I would say if you are at an interest rate of 3.375, you owe it to yourself and your family to have your mortgage reviewed by a mortgage professional. You could potentially lower to a 20-year fixed, a 30-year fixed, to get rid of PMI, pull cash out to do a nice backyard like this. There are so many different options for refinancing. It's not necessarily indicative of the rate that you're at now, but you can pretty much bet if you're at a 3.375 or higher, it's worth 100% to get it looked at.
So guys, if you're listening and you've owned a place for over 3, 4, 5, 6 years, there's a great chance that you have a ton of equity just sitting inside your home. So pull that money out, refinance. You could do a ton of things. You could pay off student loans, pay off credit cards, you could buy a boat, you could also fix your kitchen. I don't care, there's so many options. There's a whole nother show that we could do on that. But explain to people what the interest rates are for a 15-year, a 20-year, and a 30-year loan so people can weigh their options.
So whether you're refinancing or buying, interest rates right now, to put it simply, are the lowest that they've ever been. So now for them to be on average at 3% for a 30-year fixed, 2.375% for a 15-year fixed on average, and a 2.875, 2.75 for a 20-year fixed. Insane. The best time to buy, to refinance, anything. And I think you'd be kind of doing yourself a disservice to not do one or the other, and I truly mean that. So have yourself a conversation with a mortgage professional, Kostas, and that's my advice.
All right, let's talk about investors. A lot of people are looking to invest, buy properties, collect some cash. They assume that the rates are going to be still 3%, and also they could put a minimum down payment like 5, 10%. Probably not. So explain to people what the minimum down payment would be, as well as what an interest rate they could expect to see as an investor.
Sure, investors. So investors, you're going to expect to put about 25% down on average. We do have some products for 20% down, but you can expect 25% down for the best product and the rates. And speaking of rates, you're going to expect, actually now in the high 3s, to put 25% down, you're going to expect in the high threes, which is awesome because that's unheard of. I mean, even last year, I would give investors a 5.375 for putting, you know, the normal 25% down. That hasn't changed, but the rate is significantly lower for investing. So, I mean, real estate continues to be the best investment you can really ever make. So, if you have that extra cash to invest in property, now's the time to do it. 100%. Get Kostas to find you a property. He's awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to help you guys find a property. I could do that. Last but not least, let's talk about COVID. I'm sure everyone's heard of it, right? It's completely changed the entire world, and I'm assuming the same thing is applying to the lending industry. So what can people expect before they start their home search? What guidelines have changed in the industry? Give us an idea.
So that's a really great question. Unfortunately, COVID did affect people in terms of qualifying, especially self-employed. And the reason for that is the government just wants to make sure that anyone that's self-employed in their business is not affected by COVID. If it is affected by COVID, they have to, you know, make sure that the income that's coming in now, post-COVID, is going to be reflected on the analysis of whether they can pay that loan back. And the biggest way to determine if you're a good candidate for a loan right now, if you're self-employed, is to see what your cash flow looks like in your bank statements. Super important. That's the number one way that we can determine if someone's going to be approved for a loan right now, is how is your cash flow in comparison to your expenses. They're going to balance that out, and if it doesn't look good for the last even 60 days, 30 days, then you're better off waiting for that cash flow to kind of normalize and then apply for a mortgage.
Okay.
Another way that COVID has affected the lending guidelines would be minimum credit scores. So it used to be as low as 580 for a credit score, and now you are looking at minimum 620 on FHA loans, and that's not that hard to do though in terms of if you're at a 580 to get to a 620. I have a lot of tips. I specialize in credit, so I would reach out and get your credit looked at sooner than later, because sometimes it can take some time.
Awesome. I think we're pretty much done, right? We covered everything. Thanks, Rochelle, for doing the interview. Guys, if you have any mortgage questions, reach out to Rochelle directly.
Happy to help.
I have her contact information right here. And for any real estate questions, call me. And we love to help you guys. That's the whole reason why we put these videos together. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and more videos to come. Until then, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned.